from the right, in towards Morgan, and they are level. Sheffield United deservedly back on level terms with Charlton. Gillespie's corner from the right hand side, Morgan leaping high to head home in front of the Kop. It is Sheffield United 1, Charlton Athletic 1.
Kick off this edition with the man who is voted as the club's greatest ever captain, and also holds the most records for sendings off as well, but we'll not focus on that too much. It's Chris Morgan.
Thanks, Paul.
Welcome along. How are you?
Thank you. All good, thank you.
Good stuff.
Nice.
Cookie's here as well. He will be testing your grey matter a little bit later on.
Good luck.
Going a bit grey, aren't we?
Yeah,
It's going a bit
grey and losing it up front.
Now, you might have noticed we're not in the home dressing room this time. We've been kicked out by the kit man. That is Carl's domain. He's getting ready for the weekend. So we are in the away dressing room, which is a bit of a shame because I wanted to ask you about certain events that went on in the dressing room, the home dressing room. I'll do that anyway. But I want to start with the Neil Warnock documentary. As soon as we're talking about dressing rooms, let's get that one out of the way. The Wolves game, I was watching it yesterday. You just played Wolves, you come in, you've not had the result you were looking for. And it's that classic scene. You're sat there with Jagielka alongside and Neil's doing his nut and you're having a go back. You were meant to be picking up Lescott, was it?
Yeah, Julian Lescott. Yeah.
And you didn't pick him up on that occasion and Lescott scored.
He did. I actually saw Julian at a game just before Christmas, and he come walking towards me, and I think he knew what I was going to say to him. I said, the amount of grief that you've caused me over the years, and obviously we had a laugh about it, but yeah, it was, hey listen, it's a long drawn out story, and I wish I had a whiteboard that the coaches use now to put actually what happened. But if anybody's got the footage, Julian Lescott doesn't actually come in the box. So he's not there to pick up in the first place. So he tries taking me out of the way, because obviously we know later on they're going to load the ball into the box. So I'm thinking, yeah, the gaffer's going to want his centre-half in the middle of the box. I'm thinking, as his centre-half, if I go and stand in the right-back position where Julian was, I'm thinking if that ball goes in the box and they score, I'm in trouble. So, but no, Morgs, don't think, just do what you're told to do and pick Lescott up. But yeah, I made the decision to stay in, as it's documented on the video, swap with Jags, and then lucky Morgs, the ball comes in the box. Me and about 6 others, we all go and contest the header. It drops to the edge of the box. Julian's wandered in off their left wing position and smashed the ball in the top corner. And apparently that's my fault.
Always your fault, wasn't
Always
it?
my fault, yeah.
Brilliant. What I like about that scene is Jags alongside you, and he's like the little brother who's trying to have a go back and defend his corner, but he's not quite confident enough to do it. You can hear him murmuring in the background, but he's not quite brave enough to go full belt with Neil.
He was on your side though, wasn't he?
He was on your side, yeah.
If you listen to the video closely, Jags is, and also Stuart McCall. You can hear Macca in the background a little bit, like Gaffer. But obviously, when the Gaffer was on one, there was no change in his mind. And I think actually he might have apologised to me on the Monday morning after he'd watched the video. But hey, you'll have to if you get the Gaffer on doing this, then you'll have to ask him. But I'm sure he might have said, "Oh, I got that wrong, Mugs." But obviously that's not on the video.
Was it regularly like that in that dressing room?
Yeah, I think because we always challenged each other, and obviously, the Gaffer being the Gaffer, he challenged us weekly. But I think as players, I think we always challenged each other, and if things like that happened, we asked each other, why that had happened and what was the reason. But obviously that day, the Gaffer was in. Obviously we were trying to get into the playoffs. I think I remember at that time, or we were in and around it. So Wolves had been in and around it as well, and to get I think it was a late equaliser, weren't it, that they'd scored. So a lot of frustration, a lot of anger, but other lads will have told you the Gaffer was like that, and then on a Monday morning he was fine. As though nothing had happened. He never carried things on. But yeah, we were encouraged. And I talk to the lads now, and I think. Certainly that's, I think, one thing that Chris has with his group of players as well. They question each other as well, which you have to do. I hate it at times when you hear stories from lads that they go in at half time and sit in silence and wait for the manager to give them all the answers. Well, you're out there, you're playing it, you're in the situation. You've got the answers. So,
You've got to die for 3 points.
You've got to die.
You've got to die for 3 points.
And most weeks, we probably nearly did. But just on that occasion, but it'll be. And the amount of questions I get asked about, like sort of football supporters from all different clubs, everybody's seen it, and everybody, I'll be on holiday, I'll be on trains, anywhere, and people will come up. Come on, Chris, tell us about that story.
It's brilliant.
It is good.
I watched it again yesterday. That wasn't going to be the starting point. We'll go in all manner of directions, no doubt. But let's go back to the beginning. Obviously, started at Barnsley. I remember watching you in the Premier League with them. Obviously, a club very close to your heart because it's where it all began. What was it like getting the call to come here? Because it very nearly didn't happen, did it? I mean, you were meant to be going to Cardiff, weren't you, at the time when the call came?
Yeah, it was a late shout. I think the gaffer had tried signing me the year before, and I think Barnsley asked for a daft fee. So I think the gaffer spoke to my agent and said, we're prepared to wait. We're prepared to wait a year, because then I'd have been 1 year left on my contract. But then obviously Barnsley at that point they were in administration, they were in takeovers, etc. So there was a lot of trouble. So I think when clubs are like that, I think other clubs start hovering over the players and trying to do deals. And we'd actually been to look at a house. We were moving house, and I got a call off my agent saying don't follow through with the house because we might be going down to Wales. And I was like, all right, okay. So obviously the missus weren't too happy about that, and I think I went golfing that afternoon. Put my phone in my bag, finished golfing, got my phone out of my bag, and there was about 20 missed calls off the missus. And straight away, your heart sinks. You think, obviously something's wrong at home. What's wrong? So I phoned her, and it was literally, you're signing for Sheffield United. And I was like, really? I said, I'm not even spoke to Sheffield United. She was like, no. She says, I've spoke to Neil. So Neil's been on the phone this afternoon. He tried you. So there was a number. Obviously, I didn't have Neil's number in my phone. There was a number on my phone. He tried ringing me as well. So he'd got hold of the house number and actually spoke to her for about 45 minutes. So she said, yeah, we're not going down to Wales. We're staying here. I'm going back up to look at that house. We're staying here, and everything's sorted. I was like, oh, thanks, love. Thanks for. Thanks for sorting all that out.
You've not sorted your financial package out, surely?
Yeah, because
wages and all that.
Yeah, because that was his in then, because he knew that obviously once he'd spoke to the one in charge, once he'd spoke to the missus, there was no going back, was there? So yeah, and really the rest was history. I spoke to Neil, spoke to my agent, came down here the next day. I think they were in Trathorn. I came in, signed some papers, and a pal of my agent's literally drove me to Trathorn, turned round, and then drove back to Liverpool. So it was a long old drive for him. I got dropped off down in Cornwall, and started my Sheffield United journey.
And you came into a squad that had just been to 2 cup semi-finals, the playoff final. So what kind of a dressing room had you walked into at that point? A club that had gone so close in so many different competitions.
Yeah, it was funny because I actually went to the playoff final in Cardiff.
The Wolves one.
Yeah. A pal of mine.
Wolves again.
Yeah, and a pal of mine had got a spare ticket. One of his mates couldn't go, and he rang me. He says, "Do you fancy coming?" He said, "But you need to let me know now because we're setting off." And I was like, "Yeah, go on, I'll come down. Game of football, it should be good. See how United get on." And so I went down with them. So I actually I watched the game, and it was. I know it's well documented, but it was probably one game too much. I think the lads started bright, and then Wolves just got on top, and they looked as though they didn't have an ounce of energy. And then so that was sort of disappointing for them because the 2 cup semi-finals and then the playoff final. But obviously it was an experienced dressing room. Walking into a lot of characters. Pagey, Paddy Kenny, Michael Brown, Wayne Allison. People like that who, sort of big characters, big players. But obviously, I just had a year in League One, and from a career point of view, I'd had a poor season in League One. A real poor season. I was really disappointed with myself on how we'd done. We sort of struggled with Barnsley, so I was actually surprised when Neil came in. But obviously for me it was a great opportunity to join a club who just had a fantastic season, missed out on promotion to the Premier League. You know, so from a career point of view, it was, you know, really it was a no-brainer. It was hard, you know, and I always knew that there was going to be stick from both ends. You know, leaving Barnsley to come to Sheffield United, playing at Bramall Lane as a Barnsley player. You know, I always used to get dogs abuse. You know, particularly down in the corner between the Cop and the John Street. You know, if ever I went into that corner, you know, just used to get hammered by the Sheffield United fans. And I actually thought, I wonder how they'll take to me. You know, you do. You know, you're thinking, you know, coming across from Barnsley to here. And then you're always thinking, you know, because I live in between Barnsley and Sheffield, you know, once I've signed for Sheffield United, what's it going to be like going back home?
And how was it going back home when you made the move?
Yeah, I mean, it was all right. You know, it weren't. You get little bits, but I think a lot of it sometimes just crack. It's, you know, I think people try and have a go, but then it turns into a bit of banter, and you know, so yeah, it was fine. It was fine. You know, but like I said, for me, it was a fantastic opportunity to join a club that were, you know, that were going places, you know, that had, like I said, two fantastic runs in the cup, a playoff final, and you know, for me, it gave me a chance also, you know, to stay in the area, you know, which was a big thing for me and my wife. You know, we didn't want to be up, we didn't want to be moving, so you know, and you know, I was joining a huge club as well, and a club that I'd actually come to as a kid as well. You know, I used to go up in the boardroom. My next door neighbour was the son of Ian Porterfield's assistant manager.
Right.
So John McSeveny. So Ian, who was my next door neighbour, obviously John's son. I used to go and watch Ian playing for Worsborough Bridge when I was sort of 10, 11. I played for Barnsley Boys on a Saturday morning, come home and I'd jump in the car with Ian. And I used to go all over watching Worsborough Bridge, but then used to come here, watch the likes of, you know, Paul Stancliffe, Keith Edwards, Colin Morris, etc. And used to go in the boardroom, and it was always a standing joke because they always used to bring a plate rum truffles out, and obviously I was only little and I'd just disappear in between all the adults, and you know, handful of rum truffles in my pocket, and I just stand in the boardroom eating rum truffles. So yeah, it was. When I actually look back when my career had finished, when you think, you know, at that time as a kid coming in, and then to finish up, you know, the club captain of Sheffield United was a strange, you know, sort of from being 11, 12 years old coming.
And we'll come on to the captaincy in a minute, but debut here was against Gillingham.
Yeah, 0-0.
What do you remember about it?
0-0, red hot, absolute red hot day. I remember it probably being a poor game really, and I think Gillingham at that time, Andy Essenthaler, possibly the manager. You know, they got some good players. They were always a big team, big, well organised, physical team. So it was a big test for us. Obviously, full house, a lot of expectation. Probably from a fan's point of view, probably a disappointing 0-0 draw at home first game of the season, but you know, on reflection, it was actually a decent point because Gillingham at that time were a good team and they were hard to play against. But yeah, I remember it being red hot and we just stood in front of the main stand. Every time the ball went out of play, you know, the lads were literally getting in the shade, just trying to get a drink.
Yeah.
Paul, I've got that team. So do you want to?
Yeah, let's do it.
Should we test him? So this is one of the features we've got of this podcast.
Right.
I want you to remember the starting 11 from that Gillingham game. You remember
starting 11 from that Gillingham game. You're testing me, Cookie. Obviously Patrick could have been in goal.
Correct.
Right back, Cozzy.
No. Because he was on the bench. He almost were at the start of the season.
Yeah.
He'd already got pretenders to his crown every season.
So right back at that time. Bloody hell. Go on, you're testing me now. I'll come back. 2 centre backs, me and Pagey.
Yep.
Yeah. Left back. I want to say Alan Wright, but I think that Wright he might have been after that. Left back. Go on, let me come back to the 2 fullbacks because I end up killing myself here. Brownie in midfield, Tongi in midfield.
Correct. Another kid who you signed with that summer, although he'd been here on loan.
Oh, was Chris Armstrong left back?
Correct.
Yeah, good. Little nudge there, Cookie, like that. Chris Armstrong left back. Parky?
No, he was on the bench.
Was Parky on the bench?
He came with you that summer.
So I'm thinking 4-4-2. Brownie,
yeah, I think Tongi must have been wide.
Tongi played wide. Stuart McCall in with Brownie.
He was on the bench.
Was Ashley Ward? Did Ashley Ward start up top?
Ashley Ward was on the bench.
Ashley Ward was on the
You've done
bench.
most of the bench,
Must
yeah.
have had some team at that point then. Saabs did Saabs
No.
start up front.
No.
Chief
Chief.
and Peshke.
No, Pesh was on the bench.
Bloody hell.
Chief started.
Yeah. Jack Lester.
Correct.
Yeah.
There you
Chief
go.
and Jack.
I can't believe the one he's missed.
So
Or
Chief.
can't get.
Yeah. So we've got
Jaggy must have been somewhere. Jaggy right back.
Right back, yeah.
Right. Okay. So Jack. Yeah.
That's what I thought you were going to miss.
So back four. Jags.
So you've got a central midfielder and another striker.
Right. So Chief with he said no to Pesh. Who else did we have at that time up front?
He signed that summer with you. I remember the picture.
No, I've said Chief and Jack.
Jack, yeah.
Yeah, Chief and Jack up the
Yeah.
front. So
So you've just got.
did
central
Tongy
midfielder.
play wide left? Did Tongy play
He
left
must-
of a four?
Looking at this team, he must have played wide, yeah.
Yeah. So I've got Tongy Brownie. So I'm wanting another midfielder and a right sider.
Yeah. Do you want a clue?
Yeah.
The central midfielder's real first name was Simon. You remember this? It was a conversation that used to go through the dressing room all the time because Cozzy used to hammer him for it.
Simon.
You're not having this one, are you?
No, go on.
Small.
Mark Rankin.
Oh, I saw in the ranks on Saturday morning. Yeah, ranks.
Because he used to hammer him.
Yeah,
because
he
he
did,
found
yeah.
out his real first name.
Yeah.
So we're after a right winger.
Right winger. And was he a right winger, or was he
No.
Nuddy?
It was.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
And,
Right.
and that team, going forward for the rest of this season, didn't quite do it.
Yeah.
But you won Player of the Season
Right. Okay.
in your first season.
First season.
Don't act surprised. You must remember.
No, I
stuff
can't.
Like
I'm
that.
serious. No, I can't. Can't.
That's right, isn't it? One Player of the Season. That
Right.
year.
Okay. Right.
Which is not a bad way to start, is it?
Yeah. So what you're trying to say is it weren't a successful season. We missed out. So an idiot like me ended up being player of the year.
I'm not saying that.
If we'd have done
I'm
well,
not saying
if we'd have
that.
done well,
I'm
it'd have
saying
been a
that.
forward player.
But it kind of put the foundations down for you being captain because you took over from Pagey, didn't you?
Yeah.
And that must have been a great honour. So soon in your career here to be handed the captaincy. And what a captain he was, by the way.
Yeah, I was just going to say it was a great honour, but also difficult because Pagey was one of the lads that when I first came in, I sort of really hit it off with Pagey. We bump into each other, still see each other at games and stuff, and it's a shame actually that we didn't get longer than a season because I think actually we'd have had a good partnership. Maybe Neil thought we were too similar. Probably thought we needed a little bit of pace around both of us. So, but I think the chance came up for Pagey. Pagey went to Cardiff. Obviously, being a Welsh boy, it'd have been a good move for him as well. But yeah, I think it was a shame that we didn't get longer to play together. So it was an honour being given the captaincy, but it was also difficult taking over from him. Because. He had been a great skipper. He was a fantastic leader in the dressing room. Great leader off the pitch as well. I think people don't see that. Often with captains they think about the work on the pitch and inside the club, but Pagey also off the pitch as well. So in many ways, I'd got big shoes to fill. I'd been skipper at Barnsley. So, I had been a captain before, so I knew the role, I knew the responsibility, but obviously, taking over from somebody like him, who had the full respect not only of all his teammates, but the club and the supporters as well.
Yeah.
I knew it was always going to be difficult. Obviously, it was an honour to be chosen to do it, and a job that I took seriously and wanted to do well in.
You were very good at it, but what do you feel makes a good captain?
I think the main bit is backing up what the manager wants. Backing up the stuff that the manager talks about through the week. Often being a bouncing board for the players. Some players are happy going and knocking on the manager's door and speaking to the manager. Some players aren't. And that's not just our era. That'll be if you speak to Billy now. If you get Billy doing this, Billy will tell you the same thing. You get players that are confident, and some players want to come to you. And I think it's important that you're giving the answers that the manager is going to give. Because there needs to be a clear message. So I think that's one of the biggest things. Obviously being a leader on the pitch. standing out there. I think it's modern football. There's you go out there on a Saturday afternoon, there's 30,000 people. It's noisy. Often the manager can't be heard on a Saturday afternoon. So it's when things crop up on the pitch. Can you change things as a captain? Can you help out there? But I think also in the surrounding area as well. Can you be one of them people that he's happy to go out into the community, happy to do things, to back the message up of the club, because the supporters in the surrounding area are a massive part of the football club, and I think a lot said about modern footballers that they're too separated from the community and separated from the fans. I certainly, I follow social media. I see things on social media. That's one thing that you can't criticise this football club of. I think they're fantastic in the local area of what they do, and the players. They don't send young players. They send the players that are in the limelight. So certainly nobody, whether it's charities, businesses, whatever. I think if they ask for representation from Sheffield United, they get it, and they get good representation. So I think that's an important role. But I just think in the dressing room, I think Stephen Quinn possibly paid me one of the biggest compliments that I was ever given in my career. And it was when Quinny's still playing, but when we both finished here, I bumped into Quinny and we were talking, and Quinny said to me, he said, "Morgs," he said, "on a Saturday afternoon when you were stood at the front of that line in the tunnel, I always knew we were going to be okay." And I thought, yeah, because obviously as an individual you never think of that.
No.
Because you stand at the front and the rest of the lads are behind you. And so from Quinny's point of view, and a few other lads have said that as well. But for Quinny to say that as a young player that came through, and obviously me and the other senior players tried to help and obviously try and guide young players. For him to say that, it was a huge compliment. For one of your teammates to say, when you stood there, Morgs, at the front, I knew we were going to be okay. And and that's what you try and do. You try and lead, you try and be an example. But you've also got to do, and I learnt this probably at Barnsley, I tried to do too much. I tried to do too much as a captain, and often you forget your own job. And I think that's probably, the year we got relegated at Barnsley and then in League One, that's why I've said the year in League One, that's probably the most disappointed I've ever been in a season in my career, individually.
Yeah.
And I think I tried to do too much. You take too much on your own shoulders. And I think as I got older as a captain, you realise that by doing your job and doing your job first, by that you help everybody else.
Yeah.
So if I speak to young players now and young captains, I always say to them, make sure you do your job. If you're doing your job, then you'll then lead, and other people will follow you. But if you're not doing your job as a captain and you're not playing well, how then can you demand of other people? So,
you were tough as nails out there. Did you enjoy? You must have enjoyed that physical side. We've seen you getting some bumps and scrapes, but did you like getting cuts, bruises, whacked about?
Yeah,
out there.
I did. Yeah, I loved it. I loved the.
Because some players, I'm guessing, don't enjoy that side of it, being elbowed and punched in the head and God knows what else. But you were physical, you were strong, you liked the heat of the battle, didn't you?
I enjoyed defending, Paul. And we have a joke and things like that. But I knew I weren't the most technically gifted player. And I think some people at times are quite rude when they say things. And I think, well, yeah, I weren't that bad. But yeah, I weren't the most technically gifted player. But I knew my strengths, I knew my weaknesses. And I used to enjoy defending. I loved defending. I loved, I think back at games that come into my head, like West Brom away when we won a game 1-0 one night. And I think it was me, Mickey Whitlow, Jags. And literally it was, when they had Darren Moore, people, they had another centre backs. I forget his first name, Sigurdsson, and it was Jeff Horsfield, people like that. So the ball was coming in the box. We're 1-0 up, and you used to actually think, yeah, go on, get another free kick, get another corner. Do you know what I mean? Because just stick it in the box. And it was great. We used to love it. Palace away when Paddy did it. I remember Paddy doing his cruise shirt. I think another one where Jags ended up in goal. And late on you're 3-2 up, and it's like, yeah, go on, stick another ball in. Let's defend. Come on.
You wanted that.
You wanted it, and I love defending. I love taking the bumps and the bruises and the scrapes. Taking the ball in the proverbials and getting a block in and stuff like that. And it's I tell a story. This was when I was at Barnsley. David Dunn was at Blackburn, and I always remember Dunny running past me in one game, and Dunny run past and he went, Mugs, he went, have you ever tried taking more than one touch? And he said, seriously, mate, he said, if you try it, he said, you might enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? And Craig Short was playing for Blackburn at the time, and obviously I ended up playing with Shorty here. And I remember Shorty laughing in the background, and Dunny's turned around and gone, hey, big man, you're wanting the same as him. I don't know what you're laughing at. But that's, you know, and people say the game's moved on and the game's developed, but still, you know, I think, I in my current job, I speak to managers, and the first thing they ask, you know, whether it's Premier League or, you know, National League North, you know, have you got a centre half that likes defending? Have you got a, you know, and centre half still need to be able to defend. You know, I know more teams now try playing out from the back and things like that, and yeah, you know, some of the centre halves nowadays are technically better. You know, if you talk about, you know, Jack, John and Bash here, you know, all them three can play as well, but all them three as well can defend. Yeah. You know, all three of them would put the body on the line. They would, if you ask them three, they'd rather defend than they would. I know, hey, Jack and Bash get great plaudits about being overlapping.
Could you do that?
No chance. No chance. I wouldn't have wanted to.
No?
I wouldn't have wanted to. No. I'd have probably...
You'd be the John Egan of the back three, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Just probably trying to organise everything. But no, we weren't allowed. We weren't allowed to go over halfway line. You know, we have a standing joke about, you know, Neil used to say before the game, he'd say to Paddy and the fullbacks, you know, what does it say in my centre half's contracts? And cause he used to love it, he'd always, like being at school, he'd stick his hand up, cause he says, edit and kick it, gaffer. That's all correct, cause that's all I want him to do. That's all I want, and it was. Yeah. You know, you were defenders. I remember Alan Wright. Obviously, Wrighty was probably technically one of the best players that I ever played with, and Wrighty had played obviously at top level. And when he first came in, we were this side, so we were defending the cop, kicking towards the away end. So he's as at left back, he's in front of the dugout. Wrighty's gone to throw the ball forward and sort of dummied, and then thrown it back to me. And he's even caught me by surprise because I'm thinking, oh, he's throwing it forward. So he's thrown it back to me. I've had a touch with my right foot. It's ended up on my left. I've gone to clip it down the line and clipped it straight out of play. And I remember the gaffer shouting on, Righty! If you ever throw Mugs a ball again, I'm going to fine you. And I remember looking behind the dugout at all the supporters, and all the supporters are like, you can see them all giggling, and I'm like, I can't believe you just shouted that. But but that's what it was. You know, at that sort of time, defenders were defenders. But yeah, you know, I know I've sort of drifted on. Yeah, I did. I used to look forward to Saturday afternoons, and there was certain players who you know that you were going to play against. Darius Henderson, my old man, he used to laugh his socks off every time we were playing. What was
it about you two on the pitch?
I don't know.
You came together.
No idea. We just used to knock 10 bells out of each other. I remember when he was at Gillingham, he hit me and he smacked me in the throat with the back of his hand. He says he didn't mean it, but he did. And he sort of backed into me, and the next minute his arm came up and it smacked me straight in the throat. And I swear to God, I couldn't breathe. And all through that game, I was struggling to swallow. But like, you know, you don't show you're hurt, do you? But like, honestly, my throat. And I remember saying to Dennis Pettit at half time, I said, I'm sure my throat's closing up. And, you know, typical Dennis, you'll be all right. Get on with it. Be all right. Don't worry about it, Mogs, you'll be all right. So, yeah, go on and I'll be all right, Dennis. No problems. But, like, honestly, for days, my throat, I was sucking strepsils and it just made no difference. But whenever me and Darius played against each other, that's what we did. And then literally after the game, the minute the whistle went, it was an eye fight. And this is what my dad used to laugh at. He said, I've never seen two players go at it, hammer and tongue like you do. And then after the game, you give each other an high five and hug each other, and like basically say, well, we'll look forward to next time. But that's what we used to do. You know, there was no malice. It was, you know, nobody wanted to give any space up. You know, he thought he was King Dick. I thought I was King Dick, and that's, you know, that's what it was. And you know, there was other players. You know, other players that you used to have.
Was the one player you didn't relish coming up against?
Do you know what? And people always laugh at this and they think, Scott McLeish. I always remember Scott being at Northampton, and it was the year that we, I think, he'd been higher than that, but I can't remember places where. And I played against him a few times, and Scott was smaller, but he was one of them that had a great leap, and he used to come from the side of you, and he was one of them that when a keeper kicks it down the middle of the pitch, you're just about to head it, and he'd come in front of you and flick it on, and you think, where's he come from? And honestly, I always used to have problems against him, always. And, you know, I preferred playing against the big ones. Early doors I played against Duncan Ferguson, and you know, keepers kicked it, and I remember sort of coming straight past Big Dunk and heading the ball straight down the middle of the pitch, and I thought, we're having
Have some of that, yeah.
And Big Dunk just turned, never said a word, he just turned and looked at me, and just like went, all right, yeah, like that, and just nodded his head. I'm thinking, what's he nodding his head at? Anyway, next one, keeper. I've, 19, 20 years of age, whatever I were. I've come past him again. He's just stepped in front of me and put his arm across and caught me. And I thought, oh my God, what happened there? And you know, like when you get the old cartoon stars, and he just looked, same thing. He just looked at me again and went, never said a word. Just looked at me in that sort of, yeah. If we're having it, sunshine, we're having it. And so obviously, people like...
It's not a bad starting point, is it, Duncan Ferguson?
And a question I get asked a lot is, the best centre forward I ever played against, Alan Shearer. Tough, strong. I played against him again, early part in my Barnsley career. Lucky enough to swap shirts with him after the game. Alan was really complimentary after the game. I asked him for his shirt, obviously England captain at the time, best striker in the Premier League, and for me it was a privilege to play against him, and obviously, but England captain or again Scott McLeish, you try your best against all these, and he took his shirt off and he said, "There you go, mate." He said, "I wish you well in your career." He said, "You might as well have that." He said, "Because you've been trying to rip it off my back all game."
Nice line.
But people like Alan, not only technically, but score from anywhere, headers, strong, stepping back, standing on your toes, giving it the old, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that." And you think, of course you did, But at the time, I was a young whippersnapper learning the game, and you're coming up against these lads where you have to learn quick.
Yeah. Did you ever think you would be able to captain this club to promotion, which obviously you did go on to do?
I'm gonna say yes, because I was always optimistic, and when I signed for the club and where they'd been that previous season, I always knew that was the aim, and I always knew I was joining a club, and obviously, that was one of the biggest things the gaffer said to me when I joined. He said, we're going for promotion, and we'd had a lot of near misses, missing out on the playoffs, and you think, you actually start thinking, is that going to come? Is it going to come? But then, that season when we did get promoted, we went to China pre-season, which was, people said to me, "Oh, China," you listen to people talk, and honestly, I wouldn't go back to China.
I was just going to say, how does a Barnsley lad get on in China?
Paul,
bit different to Penistone.
It was awful, but great. We stayed in fantastic hotels. Some of the things that we saw and experienced. Tiananmen Square, the Great Wall of China, the Terracotta Army. I'm one of them people that I go to Mallorca for my holidays. And people say, "Is that don't you got to do?" No, I'm not bothered. I jump on a plane for 2.5 hours. I'm happy. I'm happy in my own surroundings. I like what I like. So I'd never ever. You can have probably a tight Yorkshireman, that'll come up, but I'd never dream of paying money to go to China. I wouldn't. So the experiences we had were fantastic. I remember getting to the I'm saying the foot of the Great Wall of China. Obviously, it's millions of miles,
Big,
million miles long. So obviously, there's probably loads of meeting points. But because he sat on the bus, he went, "I'm not getting off. It's only another wall," and we're like, "No, because it's the Great Wall of China." And I remember one lad shouted, "Yeah, but because you can see it from space." He went, "I don't need to go to space to see it. I can see it off through bus window." So things like that, are memories that you'll cherish for life. But actually, as a pre-season trip, and I know at the time we were sponsored by Daysun, and there was connections obviously with Kevin and
Chengdu and all that.
Chengdu and stuff like that. So it was one of them political ones, and we'd got Hawaii Dong, and I think it was just him at the time, and obviously other Sun Ji etc. followed after. So it was one of them things that we had to do as a football club. But as a 10-day trip, it was awful. It was the food. You're getting up like in the morning, and it was like boiled rice and chow mein for your breakfast, and we're like, "Where's the muesli and frosties and porridge and any chance for a slice of toast with a bit of marmalade?" It was just odd. It was odd, and but when you actually get to the end of it and you get promoted, you actually look back on that pre-season trip, because what it did, it bonded a group. It bonded a group, because there were no, we never used to take PlayStations then, and we didn't have Beats headphones, and we didn't have. I'm going to say Nintendo. I'm showing my age, aren't I?
That's all right. Nintendos are fine. They're still going.
Yeah, are they?
Yeah.
And things like that. We didn't. We used to sit and play cards and play pool and take the mick and watch Cozzy doing daft things. And I think that 10-day trip actually bonded us. And again, helped me with. I think we played Leicester here.
Yeah.
Gracie scored a penalty to win the game, and then I'm sure we went to Burnley. On a midweek game, whether that was the second game or the season or maybe third, fourth, but I remember getting back on the bus. We beat Burnley away, and again we got on the bus, and we'd had a great start to the season, and Cozzy got on the bus and went, "That's it, lads, job done, we're up." And we're like,
second game in.
I want to play 2-3 games, whatever it was. Because we're only 2-3 games in. He went, "No, I'm telling you, this season, lads, I can sense it. We're up." And that game, Simon Francis, the gaffer had brought Simon Francis in from Bradford, paid good money for him. He'd been a right back all the way through pre-season, and again, typical gaffer. Simon got injured on a Friday in training, and he probably never even thought about who were playing right back. And it was like, "Broms, have you ever played right back before?" And Broms was looking, thinking, "Right back? Yeah, go on, I'll give it a go." And Broms ended up playing probably more games at right back that season than he did anywhere else. But yeah, I think when you get to the end of a season and a promotion season, it was stuff like the pre-season trip. That weren't planned to get promoted, but for me it was a massive part of bonding a group of lads. And for me, that's sort of what carried us through.
Because you went to Cardiff, I was there, Danny Webber, of course, and then you had that wait, didn't you? Which is always odd. I mean, you're pretty much there, but you still got to wait for other results. I think Leeds were involved in the race at the time. Yeah. Were they playing Reading?
They were playing Reading at Ellen Road. Yeah.
So you had that agonising wait, as it were. And we know what happened afterwards. It was all confirmed. You went up and you were on the pitch, and it's great, and you scored. I think you scored the final goal of the season.
Palace, yeah. In my silver and gold boots.
Yeah, the stand finders.
Yeah,
absolutely. But I wanted to ask you about the celebrations, because we saw how great the celebrations were here under Chris, and it took him about a month to sober up, I think. were the celebrations here with Neil anywhere like that?
Yeah. I think, and it's funny because it was obviously Leeds. Last season as well that they were waiting for, so it was quite ironic. And we did the same thing. We met up at Shirecliffe. We watched the game, similar to what the lads did here. I think the big difference is obviously, like, you've got social media now, so lads have Instagrams, Twitters, and stuff like that. So lads were posting theirs, whereas we didn't. I think we were lucky if we had camera phones then. But it was exactly the same. We all met up. We watched the game, we went out after the game, and actually Reading supporters on their way back from Leeds called in Sheffield. I remember, there was probably as many Reading shirts in Sheffield, they'd called in to celebrate with the Sheffield United fans, and it was brilliant, and it did. It went on. We had a trip out to Marbella. We went to Marbella. We played Luton away, and Steve Howard was playing up front for Luton at the time, and I think that was another one of Neil's strange tactical changes. He played me and Chris Lachetti at centre back and played Craig Short in an holding role in midfield, and it was like, "What are you doing?" And he went, "It's all right. We'll just do it. We'll see how it goes." And probably in Neil's head is when we played Luton at home, Steve Howard we beat Luton, but Steve Howard, he destroyed us in the air. We couldn't cope with him. He was unplayable. So probably he didn't say up to us, but he probably played Shorty in the holding role, thinking, well, I'll play him in front of Steve Howard, and stop
one in
him.
Front, one behind.
Just trying to stop him heading the ball. But you're thinking, Gaffer, there's no need. We're up. We've done the job. We've done it. We don't need to stop Steve Howard, but he did. But Steve Howard, obviously we were up. He'd seen the celebrations, and I remember me, Chris, and Shorty saying to him, "Come on, Steve, we can have an easy afternoon. We're straight to airport. We're flying to Marbella this afternoon. No black eyes, no broken noses." And he was like, "Is that where you're going, lads? I might jump on the flight with you. I might come with you. So great memories. And then obviously we came back from Marbella and played Leeds here. And I think half the lads were still,
Sozzled.
still probably, yeah. And I think. I think there was one of them cold and flu bugs going round, and probably aircon on the plane or all that to blame. So I think a couple of us, I ended up missing the game here. I think I'd come back and ended up getting tonsillitis. Missed the Leeds game. So, but them's the games you wanted to play, particularly because Leeds had been so close to us as well. But I've got to say on the night, obviously Blackie was the Leeds manager, so and they sort of took it really well, congratulated us, and then obviously they went on to the playoffs against Watford.
Cookie. That's a little pause.
That moves us straight on, because the next team I've got for you, Morgs, to remember is that Liverpool one, the first game back. Remember?
The Liverpool one.
Yeah, 19th of August 2006.
Wow. Well, I knew I weren't due to start. It was going to be Shorty and Claude Davis, so I'm thinking it was me and Claude Davis at centre half.
I've got about here, if we're including Jags, I've got a good 6 defenders in that side.
Well, we were playing Liverpool.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Wow.
So you can guess with the formation.
Yeah, I'm sure because all week it had been Craig Short and Claude playing centre back. So I'm thinking it was Jaggy at right back, me, Claude, Unzi at left back.
No Claude.
No Claude Davis.
No Claude at all.
All right, okay then. So it'd have been me. Shorty didn't play against Liverpool, did he? No, because I played instead of Shorty. Shorty pulled his hammy out here on one of the last training sessions. Unzi at left back.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and Jags centre half.
Yeah.
So who played right back?
I've got 2 here.
Did Cos start the game?
No.
Broms must have started the game.
Broms started.
Yeah, so it was Broms right back.
But I've got another right back here.
Have you?
Yeah, and I've got another left back here. I told you there were loads of.
So Stretch played left. Stretch played left.
He played in front of us.
Left side. Middle of the park. Tongi's obviously in there.
Tongi, yeah.
Yeah, Tongi's in there. Paul Eiffel.
Correct.
I've started.
Yeah.
Ulsi and Webb's up top.
Correct. So you're missing one.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie to you. I was at the game and I remember it all, but I can't remember how this team.
Is it too early for Bestie? No, you said it's another right back.
He was on the bench, Bestie. David Samail was on the bench. Legend Wood on the bench. Gillespie on the bench. Akin Bayi on the bench. Nardi on the bench. I'm thinking Jags could have played in midfield here.
Jags might have done then. So
the right back that you've named might have played centre half.
Broms, right.
So we need a right back. And it wasn't Cos. And it wasn't Samail.
Dell. Yeah, Dell.
Dell.
How can I forget Dell? Yeah. Well, we needed all them defenders, didn't we?
It nearly worked as well.
Yeah.
Had it not been for Gerrard at the end.
It didn't.
Let's blame Gerrard.
It didn't
Well,
stop.
let's.
Yeah. The only penalty ever to be
ridiculous.
given
Absolutely
for intent.
Ridiculous.
The same referee that turned the Stonewall penalty down at Old Trafford for Gary Neville's tackle on Luton Shelton.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I remember stuff like that.
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
that you win that. You win. Well, yeah, but you win that. You win that game, and you know, what a lift that gives you. I think you played Tottenham in the week.
Yeah.
After that.
Either, would they?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
they were good.
Robbie Keane, Berbatov.
Yeah.
Davids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Being at White Hart Lane, that was my first ever time to White Hart Lane, and the press box there is really close, or was really close to the pitch. And the fastest thing I've ever seen on 2 legs was Aaron Lennon.
Yeah.
Oh my God, because he was literally a foot away from me, and I think Kozluk played left back that night, possibly.
Yeah.
And he gave him a really tough time. A really tough time. But I mean, what a season that was.
Yeah.
Even though you came down in the circumstances that you did, which was, well, it was horrible, really, for everybody to take. And I think, if I'm not wrong, United were 10 points clear at Christmas.
Right.
There was a healthy gap, I think, around Christmas time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in many ways, and we can talk openly about it. In many ways, 10 points clear. We only had ourselves to blame. You can blame West Ham. But 10 points clear. But that's the problem in the Premier League. It's all of a sudden it can change. 10 points is basically 3 wins. I know it's 9, and people are going to say most can't add up, but you know what I'm saying. It is.
I'm glad you qualified it. Though.
It's 3 wins, and it can soon change round. But yeah, it was and to go down by 1 goal is staggering.
And Unsworth scores.
Yeah.
Bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah.
How it all kind of works out.
Yeah.
You spoken to him since then?
Yeah, loads of
brought him
times.
back.
Loads of times.
Brought him back, of course, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, he came back and he worked in the academy.
Yeah.
You know, coached the under-18s. But hey, Unzi was a professional sportsman. You know,
He's doing his job.
He went away. He went to Wigan. You know, they were in the same boat. You know,
Yeah.
he ain't going to miss a penalty.
No, true.
You know,
And Rob Hulse, of course, busted his leg at Chelsea, didn't he? I think.
massive loss.
So you lost him for the running as well, which I think was a turning point.
Huge loss
That season.
Yeah.
Did
In
he
fact,
collide with a goalkeeper or something?
yeah, he
Or
did.
post?
Yeah, he did. Peter Cech.
Yeah.
It would have been funny. I was at the. I watched Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday under-16s Saturday morning. I was stood talking to Dell and Jack, and Dell was talking about that, and we were talking about the current Premier League and players, and we were saying how. I remember, and again, people will go on Google and will look at the times, but I remember it being possibly about 20-25 minutes at 0-0, looking up at the clock at Stamford Bridge, thinking, do you know what, we've started really well here.
Yeah.
We're doing all right. And then the next bit, bang, bang, bang. Shevchenko got 2, I think. Sorry, not name dropping, but that's the lads who we were playing against. I remember Kazim Richards dribbling across the middle of the pitch, Carvalho stepping in, and they talk about speed on the counter. And they just came at us, and it was a cross, Shevchenko, goal. And then I said to Dell, from 20-25 minutes, I think then, before half-time, we were, I think, either 2 or 3 down. And the game's done. You're out of it.
Yeah.
And that's the big difference. That's the big difference from the Championship to the Premier League, And like that day, for us, Drogba, Shevchenko, Carvalho's, Michael Ballack. I always remember walking past Michael Ballack in the tunnel, thinking, Jesus. Like you see these people.
How big are you?
They're big, yeah. He was huge. But again, I'm sure that's what the lads are finding now. Every team you play against in the Premier League, they're all specimens.
Yeah.
They're all, athletes. And people will say, the game is. But even back then, the people, Premier League, they're athletes. They're proper, but all big, well built. Not they are muscular, but lean athletes. Proper, and. That was the biggest thing. The speed of the game in the Premier League is you've said there about sitting in the press box, and that's why I love sitting near people. A big part of my job now is recruitment and watching games, and I love listening to people criticise. When you sat probably in the second tier or the back of the first tier, and you've got the full pitch, you can see all 22 players, and often, I'll not that you have a go at people, but I'll say to people, do me a favour, if you can, go and buy a ticket on the front row, or if you get a chance, go and sit at pitch level and see if you can see the pictures you can see here. See if you can gauge the speed of the game. I was lucky enough I took my dad a few seasons ago. Man City played Real Madrid in the Champions League at the Etihad, and I took my old man, and we sat. Brian Kidd got me some tickets, and literally bang on the halfway line, 2 rows back, and it was incredible. To listen and to hear, and the speed of the level of City and Real Madrid, it was staggering. And Sergio Ramos never all through the game never used his voice. He controlled the back 4 through whistling.
Through whistling?
Yeah, and joking, I'd heard it. Like when you watch Real Madrid, and please, if anybody watches Real Madrid on TV, you'll now hear the whistling. And Real Madrid and Sergio Ramos whistles. He whistles all the time. So he must say, when they're playing the cauldrons they're playing, you must not be able to hear people shouting. So he whistles, and the back 4 move, and he whistles again, and the back 4 move. And it was, honestly, from an ex-centre half to see him doing it, it was. And they talk about, again, they'll probably look at something like Sergio Ramos and he's a glamorous defender. But I tell you what, he don't half get involved in one-on-ones and putting his body across people. But again, when I whistle, we're moving. Yeah. And you talk about captains and how they lead. And listen, honestly, as soon as he whistled, the back 4 moved. So. But it was, again, the pace of the game. So if people sit and criticise, and I know people, you can sit and watch a game of football, and you can do whatever you want. You're a paying supporter, but please go and watch if you can a Premier League game, a top level game. If you're lucky enough to get the chance, go and sit at pitch level and watch the game. It's incredible.
I want to ask you about goals, and one in particular.
There's not many I scored, Paul. So this will be a quick conversation.
Well, there must be one that springs to mind. Which one am I thinking of?
Swansea away.
No.
Oh.
Goals that you scored.
Yeah.
playing for Sheffield United. What do you think that a lot of people...
I think he's referring to an FA Cup goal.
Yeah. An FA Cup goal.
Oh, yeah.
There we are.
Against my mate Wardy.
Yes, the
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
That's the one. I'm surprised he's not been dining out on that
It's
one.
on the Instagram. It's on the Instagram.
Is it?
Yeah, if you ask Wardy will say he calls it Moggs was recycling play.
Recycling play.
Yeah.
Right.
But actually on my Instagram I've got Ronaldo scoring a goal for Real Madrid. And it's very, very similar to the one that I scored. He looks a little bit more athletic and a little bit more natural, but I'm telling you, there's not a great deal. There's not a great deal difference.
And he's not done it in Umbro stand finders either.
No, he's not.
Has
It was like doing it in a pair of wellies.
I bet it was.
You know what I mean?
I bet it was.
For the benefit of everybody else, it's an FA Cup game at Nottingham Forest.
Yes.
Away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overhead kick.
Yeah, and Paul Hart after the game, and again you'll be able to, and you'll have read this, Cookie, and no doubt you'll have probably printed it off on a Monday morning as you used to do, and bring it up and put the print off on the table when we used to have his cup of tea in the morning. Paul Hart's words after the game were, "When you're getting knocked out of the FA Cup,
Yeah.
with goals like that from people like Chris Morgan, you know it's not your day." And I thought, that's very nice of you, Paul. Thank you.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Where did it come from, that, though? I mean, it's
No
a
idea.
cracker, isn't it? From a corner.
No idea. It just, again, we used to do things like that in training, and the gaffer would he'd stop the session, and he'd go, "That goal don't count." It might have been a goal that put you 3-2 up in training, and he'd say things like, "No, that don't count. Don't want centre half scoring goals like that. So it's still 2-2. Play on." You know what I mean? So I just remember it dropping out, and yeah, go on, just try it, Morgs, see what happens. Going back to like Dunny, just have 2 touches, Morgs, every now and again.
Tick that one off.
So yeah, it was obviously. But I forgot about it. I thought you were going to talk about the Swansea goal when I.
What was the Swansea one?
When I lifted it over. I lifted it over Doris De Vries.
Oh, Doris. Yes.
That was just before your Christmas do. Just
It was, yeah.
we
We were going down to Southampton.
Freezing, wasn't it?
Gary Naismith got sent off probably midway through the second half, so we were 10 men, 1-0 down.
Must have been nearly Christmas.
Yeah, it must have been if we went on his Christmas do.
Yeah, good
We
point.
get sent off.
And it was it was a strange goal, because technically it was a real good goal, but actually how I ended up in there, and then the thought process of what I actually did.
Was you off the ground?
No. So what happened is we'd got a free kick. So it was sort of from our left wing, their right back's place, similar to the Lescott goal, and it got drifted in, and we've all gone challenging for the ball, and then the ball's got cleared, and obviously we're all running out. But as it got cleared, it got put back to one of our players. I can't remember who it were, and they lifted it back in. And I sort of play it I did the striker's run along the line, and I timed my run, and I was in one-on-one with Doris De Vries. And if you remember, Doris, I think he either fractured his cheekbone or he had a facial injury at the time, and he'd come back in a face mask. And the ball bounced, and I've gone running in. He's come running out to the edge of his box, and I've thought, and do you know, like, the thought process, I didn't have this much time, but I remember thinking, what the hell am I going to do here? And I literally prepared myself for running into him. I'm just thinking, we're going to run into each other, and wherever the ball bounces, whoever gets up first will score. But Doris stopped, and I thought, oh shit, what do I do now? And literally the ball bounced, and I remember him stopping, and it was like a dead little delicate, and I lifted it over him and into the net and just went running away. And it was like the away end at Swansea, and it was like the Shearer one. My arm were up and I've gone running into the corner. But if you have a look at it, I think some of the lads' faces coming to run to celebrate, they're thinking, how's Moggs done that? Where's that come from? Lovely delicate little lob.
Love he calls him Doris. Doris. He'll thank you for that.
Yeah.
Doris. I
Sorry.
just lifted it over Doris, didn't I?
It's Doris in Barnsley.
Yeah. Excuse my pronunciation.
You had the testimonial, of course, because you served so long here. Was it 12 and a half years? Something like that?
Yeah.
12 and a half years?
Yeah.
Testimonial against Newcastle, that must have been an emotional time.
Yeah.
I was watching some footage back, actually, when you came on, and the referee, I think it was Andy Madley, was it?
Yeah.
Showed you a red card as soon as you
Red
came
card.
on, which I thought was nice.
Red card straight
The
away.
free kick in front of the cop.
Yeah.
Belter,
Yeah.
that, Morgs. Belter.
Yeah, that didn't actually.
Straight into the wall.
Yeah, it didn't come out how I planned it in
How
the
had
end.
you planned it?
I planned it a little bit like when Ronaldo steps back and then he steps
The knuckleball type one.
Yeah, steps to the side and you turn the valve round and you side foot it on the valve and it does the old dip and just goes under the bar and in. And
it was anything but that.
And I could see all the lads in the wall thinking he's going to hit us. He's going to hit us here. And unfortunately it went straight into the wall. So yeah, nowhere near. And I was at a game the other night. I was at Leeds Sheffield Wednesday FA Youth Cup, and Richard Creswell's lad Charlie, he's the captain of the under-18s,
right? And
he's done the same thing. The game's at Tadcaster Albion, and he stepped back, and I'm thinking, what's he got here, Charlie? Because Charlie's technically very good, and he steps back and. He didn't hit the wall, but he put it more or less over the stand at Tadcaster, and I dropped Cressy a message: centre halves shouldn't take free kicks.
Coming from a man who knows.
Coming from a man that knows, and who tried. I was going to say tried a couple, no, I didn't. I tried one.
But I mean, great service. I mean, could you have ever imagined? I mean, it's interesting. You only played for 2 clubs.
Yeah.
Such a long career, which was actually cruelly cut short by injury, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But for 2 clubs, and you represented them with great distinction. But to spend such a long time here, not just as a player, but a caretaker manager, a coach. Caretaker manager twice.
Caretaker manager twice, yeah.
One after Danny.
After Danny, and then obviously after Davey, yeah.
Yeah. How did you find that? Tough, wasn't it? Because in the playoffs, lost a bit of momentum.
Yeah.
Going out at Yeovil.
Yeah, very. I mean, first and foremost for me, it was difficult. It was difficult taking over from Danny and Frank. Obviously Danny had in many ways played a massive part of my career. From being a kid. I was an apprentice at Barnsley under Danny. Danny gave me my debut as a player, and then obviously I was here. Danny come in as manager. I was injured. I'd obviously got injured the year before. He came in. Tried to help me with the rehab. Like Speedo, bless him, Speedo encouraged me to start doing my badges. I think it came to a point where I knew I was struggling. So Speedo encouraged me to start doing my coaching badges. Danny, when he came in, encouraged me to carry on the badges and start doing a little bit of coaching, while I was doing the rehab. But yeah, really, when they sacked, because I'd basically been on first team coach and under 23 coach under Danny and Frank, two people who I'd got massive respect for, was really difficult. Getting a phone call off Kevin saying, would you, Danny's left. We've removed Danny and Frank. Would you take over? And I couldn't answer Kevin straight away because I had to. I had to speak to Danny, and to be fair to Danny said, "Moggs," says it's a great opportunity for you, because I actually felt, because obviously at that point I decided that my playing career was finished, so I was no longer doing my rehab, I was coaching. I actually felt I've been part of that coaching team, so if Danny and Frank have been removed, I should probably come out as well. So I spoke to Danny and I spoke to Frank, and in fairness to both of them, they said, no, you've got no reason to come out. Stay in there. You've been asked to do it. If you do a good job, who knows? Probably could you be offered the job in League One? You never know if you do well. At worst way, you get a little taste of it. You get a little taste of a short period of a caretakership and see where it takes you. So I rang obviously the chairman back. I rang Kevin back and said, I'd love to take it on. I'd love to have a shot at it. We were in a strange as it were, we were in a real good place in the league. We had, I think, just had a couple of not bad results. We had a couple of dicky results. But we've got a good squad. We were in a decent place. So it was like, yeah, come on, let's see where we can get us. And obviously, getting to the playoffs, winning 1-0 here in the first leg. Yeovil at the time were absolutely flying. Anybody that's ever been to Yeovil, we knew what it was going to be like down there. And people can look back and think, bloody hell, you lost 2-0 at Yeovil. But hey, Yeovil were flying. They were a good team, and that's not excuses. We got a couple of real key injuries at that time. Tony McMahon, who'd been a massive part of things, he was injured. Dave Kitson had played the first leg here. We had been rude to Kits. Kits was at the back end of his career, and it was a quick turnaround as the playoff games were. And to be fair to Kits, we trained at Bramall Lane, and he said, Morgs, he said, I'm feeling a bit stiff. He said, I'm not sure what you're thinking of doing. He said, but personally, I think I'll probably be better saving me for later on in the game. Bring me off the bench. So we had to tweak things a little bit. But went down there and obviously got beat 2-1. And then I went through the interview process. Probably a little bit, I don't know, shall I say, naivety on my point. I probably nailed my name to the mast a little bit and said, yeah, I want the job. Was I ready for the job at that time? I think, what would I have been? I think 35, 36. Was I ready for the job? Was I prepared for the job? In experience-wise, probably not. But I thought I knew the supporters, I knew the club, I knew, in a way, I remember the Brentford game here, and again, helped me with the scoreline. But Brentford under Uwe Rosler, they were in the playoffs as well. Yeovil beat them in the final. They were a real good side at the time, and we had a real good game with them here towards the end of the season. I think we got. Did we end up drawing or
the one with the sending offs?
Yeah, loads of sending offs. Finished 3-3. They scored late on, something like that. But for me, watching that game, it was a case of I stood on the sideline watching that game, probably thinking this is what Neil used to feel like, because it was a Sheffield United performance. We kept going, we kept attacking, we kept. We wanted to win the game. Against a real good Brentford side, but probably a little bit naivety. We should have won 3-2 and ended up we drew 3 apiece. So again, yeah, I nailed my name to the mast a little bit. Spoke to a few experienced people after the interview process when obviously I didn't get the job and Davey Weir got it, and they probably said, Morgs, you probably should have stepped back a little bit and gone, well, I'm here, I've done the caretaker job. If you want to interview me, I'm here to be interviewed. But me being me, I was like, yeah, come on then. There's a job up for grabs. And at that point, I'd called time on my playing career, so I wanted to have a go at it. I'd started doing the coaching badges. People have said to you, doing your coaching badges is like learning to drive. Once you've actually got your coaching badges and once you learn to drive, you coach and you drive how you want to do. But you've got to have them in place. But yeah, I felt as though I could put with my connections. Obviously I'd have needed somebody experienced, and I felt as though if I'd have got the job, I'd got a team, with the staff that were already here. I could have put a team in place to have a real good go at doing the job properly. But that was history. They gave the job to Davey, it weren't my time. So, but I think, obviously the second time I did the caretaker job was when Davey left, and Kevin obviously pulled me and said, we are trying to get Nigel Clough, we're trying to get Nigel in. So I knew at that point that it was, like a babysitting job, looking after the lads, trying to get them organised and trying to win some games. And we did. I think at that time we went and got some decent results. I remember going to Peterborough on a Tuesday night, and again, how times have changed, but I think we were third bottom, fourth bottom, and Peterborough were flying, smashing goals in as they do under Darren Ferguson, and we went down there. We got a real good 0-0, and I remember Neil Collins pulling me after the game saying, Morgs, he said, I've been in the game a while. He said I played for some good managers. He said, but that was one of the most organised, and we'd done work all week of trying to stop them, but how could we also beat Peterborough? And and Colo said to me, he said, Morgs, he said, the organisation and the way we set up was excellent. And Lyle Taylor smashed one against the bar later on, and it was one of them again. VAR. I'm sure it came down, and we were all thinking it's in. So at the time, if we'd have gone there and won 1-0, it'd have been a fantastic result. But so I knew that obviously Nigel was coming in, so that was just a case of looking after the team.
Nearly done, because we're almost out of time.
Sorry, I've gone on.
Any more? Or
I'm not going to do that last team, but I do want to talk about. I think it should be brought up about your last game, that Coventry game, when you did get injured. And the reason why I remember this a lot is because my daughter was mascot that day. I always tease her that she ruined your career. So
it's a bit harsh on it.
Very harsh.
Not at all.
Cheers, Dad.
But what I think people should know, and there's a story to tell you, and whether this is a good, bad, or indifferent thing, is is open to interpretation. So you did your ACL, yeah? Yeah.
And lateral ligament.
Yeah, and lateral ligament.
And popliteal tendon.
And when did you do them? During
Show
the
off.
game?
No, about 5 minutes before half time.
5 minutes before half time.
Yeah.
And when did you come off? You didn't come off.
At full time.
Yeah. So you'd done your ACL and everything else 5 minutes before half time, and you played on. Was that a big factor in you not getting back?
The surgeon says no. The surgeon, Andy Williams, the surgeon actually said to me, he was gobsmacked. He said, "How you finished a game like that?" He said, "I've no idea." And people ask me about, like you just have, and this is by no way means of a hero story. It's not, because literally I was in no pain whatsoever. And Andy Williams said to me, he says, because they were total ruptures. So me ACL, me LCL, the popliteal tendon, they'd total rupture, certainly of the ACL and the LCL. And I'm going to say a few weeks before, it was certainly an FA Cup game here. We played Hull, and I came off on a stretcher. And Paul Tether, the physio at the time, I'd landed, and often ACL injuries, you land and you sort of rock back, and it's when you get the hyperextension of the knee when the ACL goes. And he felt my knee, and I'd got lax knees anyway, so there was a lot of movement in my joints. But he came on and he tested my knee, and he went, "Morgs," he said, I think you've got a problem with your ACL. He said, I think you need to come off. So I was like, Ted, I said, it can't be ACL, because obviously ACL is the last thing any professional footballer wants to hear. You're 12 months out. And so I was like, no, it can't be. And he said, seriously, he said, you've got to work with me, just trust me. And I was like, right, okay. So stretcher, came off behind the cop, and obviously, as you come off, you always get a round of applause from the crowd. So I'm sat on the stretcher. I'm gutted. I'm giving the crowd a clap. So, and I forget where we went on a Tuesday night. We've got a game on a Tuesday night, and lo and behold, Morgs is fit. Morgs hasn't done his ACL. He's come off against, big, hard centre half, what everybody thinks. He's come off against Hull at home, and he's playing on a Tuesday night. So obviously, Blackie was the gaffer at the time, and Mikey Allen, the analyst, who, loves stitching me up. He's put a video together, pre-match. Obviously, Blackie's done all his stuff on the opposition. And at the end, we've got Lazarus. Morgs comes off on a stretcher and he's fit on a Tuesday night. So, Coventry at home, obviously I've got this knee injury again. And I knew it weren't right, because it was like, it just felt loose. It felt really, really loose. And hey, this is Paul Tether again, says to me, Morgs, he says, I think you've got problems with your knees. And I've gone like, yeah, all right, Ted.
You said that before.
I said, you said that last time. And again, that's no criticism to Paul, because Paul actually said, Morgs, you've got a big problem with your knees, so I'm not happy with it. And Sam Ellis, obviously, Sam, the assistant manager's come in and gone, is he, as they do, is he right to carry on or not? And he's gone, no, he's not. And I've gone, Sam, yes, I am. I said, yeah, I am. I said to Ted, I said, just do whatever you need to do, strap it, whatever, put some tape around it. I said, because I'm going back out. So I went back out, finished the second half, but I remember all second half thinking, this don't feel right. Just feels loose. I couldn't take off. I couldn't land. I was kicking everything with my left foot, and I just somehow I managed to get through the game. Managed to get through it. Wanted to finish it, and it was Halloween, and I went to an Halloween party that night. And I remember being stood there thinking, Jesus, honestly, mine. And I went to the toilet, and I took my trousers. That were obviously, it weren't my jeans. We were in costume. I think I went as Frankenstein. Yeah, good one. just giving everybody a great line to feed off on there. Yeah, no makeup. Yeah, because he'll be watching this and commenting. So yeah, and I remember taking my trousers down and looking and thinking, oh my God. And literally, my knee was the size of a beach ball, massive. I said to the missus, I said, listen, you carry on. I said, I'm going home. I went home. I rang Paul. I said, we need a scan on this. I said, my knee's not right. Got up on a Sunday morning. All the swelling had tracked into my ankle as well. Went to Leeds. I don't know why we went to Leeds Hospital. Must have not been able to get to Claremont or Thornbury. Went to Leeds, and I knew the minute I came off the scanner, because obviously these radiologists that sit behind the they know, but obviously they can't tell you. So I came off and everything's on the screen and everything looks all blurred and cloudy, and I've looked and I've said, go on, and I said, what do you think? How's it looking? And he went, it's not for me to say. Mm-hmm. And my mate had run me across, and I remember I got in the car and he went, go on, and what they said, I said, well, they can't. I said, I've got to wait for the results. I said, but he's just looked at me and gone, not for me to say. I said, so I don't think it's good. And obviously, we got the news. Went and had the op, sat with Andy, and obviously Andy said to me, he said, one thing you've got to realise is, he said, I'm going to make more damage fixing it than you've done damaging it. He says, because that's just the nature of the beast. And I remember the nurse, because obviously it was all bandaged, all stapled, and I got a knee brace on. She took the knee brace off, took the bandage off before I was going home. I think I was a couple of days in hospital. And when she took the bandage off, I just sat there and looked at it, and I got like a big where they'd done the lateral ligament up the side, and then I got an L shape on the front of my knee, obviously all stapled. And I remember sitting there thinking, oh my God. Do you know, like, I think as a professional sportsman, you take injury and you just think, it's part of the job. But I think that was the first point for me that I thought,
it's over.
This not that it's over, because I knew anyway. He told me he said you'll be 12 months, but then you'll be more like 18 months before you get anything back. So I knew it was going to be a long process. But for me, that was the first time I looked at my knee and thought, this is more serious than I actually thought. And the nurse actually looked at me and she went, "You weren't expecting that, were you?" And I went, "No, not at all." And obviously he'd gone through it. Andy had gone through everything. But I remember sitting there thinking, wow. Yeah. So, and it was long. It was a long process. And in the end, everybody did everything they could. I did everything I could. And we just, in the end, the structure of the knee was fine. I couldn't control the swelling. Whenever I got to high end, it swelled up. I was having it drained. I was having cortisone injections stuck in it. And in the end, I just thought I made the decision, and I joined in. I shouldn't have done, and I was coaching, and it weren't a session as such, and I was doing an example, I think, on defending, and I just laid a ball off, and one of the lads ran outside, and I went to turn, and I didn't fall in a heap, but I actually, there was nothing there. There was nothing there on my knee, and I walked straight up up at Shirecliffe, walked straight up the bottom pitch, into the dressing room, picked my gear up, in the home team dressing room, took it in the coaching room, hung it up, and I just knocked on Danny's door. And I remember, I can see Danny now as clear as a bell. And he was sat in his leather chair in front of that big window in the manager's office, and he was just smiling at me. And I went, "What are you smiling at?" Because obviously my head had gone. I went, "What are you smiling at?" And he went, "Welcome to the coaching side." He said, "We could all see it." He said, "But obviously nobody could make that mind up for you." He said, "But I've just seen what you've just done." And he just put his hand out and he said, "Welcome to the managerial side." And then and so that was it. I'd made my mind up. I'd been best part in 2 years in rehab, So I had the operation on 33rd birthday. So 35. I'd been told you'd only be able to play one game a week. You're not be able to train every day. You'll have to do recovery sessions on a bike. Basically, you're too old. You've got too many games in your legs. My only thing, my disappointment was that I never ever got to play again in front of a proper, I don't know, testimonial, but I never got to play in front of a proper crowd again at Bramall Lane. That is a big disappointment for me, and as any professional sportsman, certainly professional footballer, maybe I could have done, and maybe I'd have pushed it, but I'm quite single-minded, and I think I've made my mind up, and I knew, and probably a bit of me thought, I knew I couldn't do what I used to do, and for me being 70% Chris Morgan, I weren't any good to anybody, because I had to be at full tilt to be the best I could, and I thought me giving somebody 70%, if I'd have tried coming back for Danny and saying, "Listen, Danny, I'm only going to be at 70% tilt," I could have probably got through, because you do the experience, but I weren't a 70% player. I had to be at full tilt and do everything, at full tilt. So. But yeah, it is a big disappointment for me that the Coventry City game was the last one, and in a way, your career peters away to nothing. People will not agree with that because it didn't. I look back, I had a fantastic career. I actually still feel that I could still be playing now. And I probably would have done. I'd have played Conference North. I'd have played whatever. I'd have just carried on playing. Because you do. You love the game. People say to me now, what do I miss about football? And I actually don't think you miss Monday to Friday. You miss game day.
Yeah.
Game day is what you miss.
Bunyan's all right?
That's like Neil Warnock.
I'm probably getting to the stage where I need them doing as well.
The reason I say that, because if any of you watching have ever been to any kind of after dinners where he's involved, and in particular Rob Coslup, Cosy will always bring up the small issue, or maybe big issue, of Chris's bunions on his feet, which have been an issue for you. Are they all right now?
Yeah. Paul, it was before Predators were involved. The bunion on my right foot, when I used to play that ball down the line, it was the bunion that probably kept it in play with a little bit of curl. But yeah, Cosy used to love the bunion. And every time I see him now, he's still got the bunion shoes on, still protruding in.
Quickly, I did say we're nearly out of time. Tell us about Coslup when he was at Barnsley and babysitting duties for your missus. Is it right he used to drop his kids off at your house for Tash to look after? With yours, something like that.
It weren't our. I don't know what. Yeah, I can't remember what player it was, but he did used to bring him up. He didn't used to bring him to ours. I mean, Cos, I thought you were going to say when he signed at Barnsley, and obviously we got relegated from the Premier League. Cos obviously moved on a free, signed for Barnsley. First day of pre-season, the balls are out. He's trying to make a big impression. First day of a new club. He's put his hand up and he's stopped the session and he's picked the ball up and he's looked at the Football League emblem on the ball, and he's gone to Simon David, the manager. He's gone, "Who's took the Premier League badge off these balls?" He said, "I was using Premier League balls last year." Who's took the badge off? But no, Cos called round probably a few months ago at our house. He'd been at a presentation in Sheffield, and I think they expected it going on a bit longer. He'd got the missus with him, he'd got two kids, and obviously, I don't know, he'd kept my postcode in his phone, and he rung up me, "Are you in Mugs?" And I said, "Yeah." It was Saturday night, probably sat watching X Factor, and he said, "I'm about 5 minutes from yours, just get kettle on." Or he said, "If you've got a bottle of rosé for Kate." Anyway, just called in, two kids, and it was great. It was great to catch up with him, but that's your typical Cos. You know, not are we all right to come round, or I'm coming.
I think we'll have to get him on here just to share some of his pranks.
You've got to get him.
That's an episode on its own.
I'm going to finish with this.
Yeah.
So what we've done with our previous guests, we've found some of their answers in old programmes and matching shoots and stuff. So I've got a programme here from Saturday the 16th of September 2006.
Oh, here we go.
It's a feature that we called at the time, My First, My Last, My Everything. And I think I'd have done this with you for the programme.
Yeah, of course you would.
So what I'm going to ask you is 3 or 4 questions from here. And I want to know if you can give me the same answer that you gave me back then.
Right, okay.
What was the first autograph you ever obtained?
Was it Brian Robson's
Correct.
at Old Trafford? We'd gone with Penistone Sports Centre.
Correct.
Barry Murphy.
It's exactly that.
Yeah.
First pair of boots you were bought?
Pair of red ones off Barnsley Market.
Red Rascals you referred
Red
to?
Rascals, yeah. Off Barnsley Market they were. And obviously, hey, by the way, and I did stand like a sword. You know, if you got a pair of red boots now as a kid, you'd be buzzing.
Yeah.
But I was the only one running around in a pair of red boots. So I probably started, as much as I never wore them through the career, I started the trend.
First extravagant buy after turning pro?
I don't think I've ever bought extravagant. Was it me? I think one of the first things I ever bought was, I remember buying a silver Corsa from the bottom of Stairfoot roundabout in Barnsley.
Bang on. It doesn't even say silver Vauxhall Corsa.
Yeah.
Last one then. Your specialty on karaoke. And now I know this because I've still got it on video on my phone.
Always. Sweet Caroline.
Yeah, he sings that.
Always.
I've seen him doing that, and I don't think Tash will like me saying this, but I've seen him doing this while he's swinging his shirt above his head.
She probably has as well.
I've still got the video.
Yeah. Do you know what? I always remember, Cookie, again, memories, the marquee on the pitch when we got promoted. You know, I think we were all up there, but certainly Unzi, Shorty, and we were all belting it out, you know, and yeah.
Was that the one where Coslup made speeches there as well?
He used to do speeches all the time, didn't he? And his were always the best. I'm amazed that people aren't actually, that you hadn't had him back and actually paid him to do it, because he's I think he's probably the, not after dinner speaker, but just his story. Yeah, he's brilliant. You know, and he is literally, people think, no, he's making it up, and it's not. he's just off the scale.
He is a funny guy.
He's a funny guy. I wanted to talk about Neil at Millwall in the dressing room and the boots that he had on. I think he was at Millwall.
No,
anyway.
Leeds.
Leeds away, yeah.
With the white boots.
Yeah.
Yeah. When the gaffer said to him, he says, "Bloody hell, son, you have to be a good player to wear them." And he said, "Shall I take them off then?"
Classic. I love it. Well, we'll get him on here soon enough.
Definitely.
Morgs, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
thanks very much.
Thanks,
Always
Paul.
good to see you.
No problems.
And we could have done another hour comfortably, but absolute legend of the lane without a shadow of a doubt. And you can see why he was voted the club's greatest ever captain. Always good to see you down here, mate. And that is it for our latest episode, the first one of 2020. Hope you've enjoyed it. We will be back with another one next month as well. You can follow the club on all the usual social media channels.
Do you want to list them?
Yeah, list them, Kev. There's so many.
Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. There's the website. There's the programme. That'll do.
We've covered them all. You're on Instagram, aren't you?
I am, yes.
How do we find you on Instagram?
Just put.
Chris Morgan Instagram.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
That's
Okay.
the usual thing, isn't it?
I do feel old. I should know technology an awful lot better than that. Thanks again, guys. See you soon. Up the plate.